You are listening to Christ Realization Radio, where you will discover the reality and the essence of your presence. With programs brought to you by Project New Humanity Communications. You are listening to Turning Points and Transformations with your host, Bryan Rice. Will today be the day that you have your breakthrough in consciousness? It is time to be uplifted. Welcome and joy to you. This is a rebroadcast of a 2012 episode from the Way of Consciousness Radio Network.
Well, hello. Welcome to Turning Points and Transformations. I'm Bryan Rice coming to you during the day. I'm coming to you a little bit earlier than normal, but the on-demand listenership has been so incredible and so such a very humbling thing for me that I know that you will still listen because you've been so supportive as of up to this point in this series, which was originally supposed to be a mini-series, and we're continuing it because it's getting a draw, and there's definitely something to be said and gained and learned and shared more than anything in this experience. And talk a little bit about what we're going to be dealing with today on this episode. I want to say that the myth of specialness, of which we're going to talk about today, is something that's close to my heart and situation, and I can really relate to what it is we're going to be dealing with today. Everyone has their breakthrough moments at different times in their lives, and many people have many breakthroughs, and that's the wonderful thing about life, the mystery of life, the anointing of life, that we have these many moments and possibilities built into the life spectrum that allow us to experience illumination of sorts. The reality of what we're dealing with, the reality of what it means to live in an ordinary world, what it means to live an ordinary life. Those are things we don't like to talk about. Those are things we don't like to think about. We like to think and glamorize. We like to popularize. We like to dramatize things and build storylines for ourselves to be subject to. Anyway, the thought for the day is that we can live and bring the extraordinary from the infinite to the ordinary experiences in mindfulness and through living meditation, through the activity of having a living meditation, an ongoing meditation. Life itself is a meditation. Life itself is a mystery that will never cease to seek answers and meaning from. Now, when I say that this topic is something close to me, I speak in terms of I've had to have a lot of humbling experiences in being a spiritual teacher and being called to the spiritual path, and being held accountable at a higher level, so to speak. I believe that I should be held accountable. And in past episodes, we played the accepting the reality affirmation, which I'm going to share again with you today at the closing of this episode. And it's really hard not to look at people such as politicians, actors, celebrities, athletes, people with PhDs, lawyers, doctors, judges, people in important positions, not to look to them and say that they are somehow exalted. It's very hard not to look to them and want to. It's very hard to look at them, accept them for who they are as human beings, ordinary human beings who may be living the extraordinary lifestyles that they have, and with all the pleasures and the wealth and the very niceties that come along with it. But what we don't know is what goes on personally for these people. And for us to demean ourselves and put ourselves down and to solely say that these people are the important people in society and in the world, and that these people are who we should be like because they have somehow attained or achieved a certain status of some sort. Well, status means squat in the spiritual world. I'm sorry. Your bank account, your spiritual bank account, is finite. What you invest in is where your treasure is at. And we should invest our treasures in heaven, as it said in the Bible. Not that I like to quote the Bible, even though I am a priest. I don't like to do that. I don't like to dogmatize anything. So I stay clear of scripture quoting in these programs. Why do these people somehow carry an aura of specialness about them? What is it about them that we want? Is it their fame? Is it their recognition? Is it the praise that they get? Is it the attention that they get from people? What is it, ultimately, that we seek and we are envious of or jealous of? And I include myself in this, because I fall victim to it too. And just because you're a spiritual teacher or on the spiritual path doesn't mean you're exempt from experiencing such attacks or such episodes. Now, true life experience, I was a serious actor for a long time in my life. And this was before I got onto the spiritual path in the serious way. And before I started seeking answers and started seeking the union and the presence and the oneness of the consciousness that is infinite, that we call upon, that is the being and presence of God. There was a long time where I was wrapped up in knowing myself, and I still, because I'm human, because I'm like one of you, and we're all alike, we still like to be the center of our own universe. And that's hard to admit. And we do a lot of things for a lot of right things for the wrong reasons. And that's what the wisdom of the Enneagram teaches. And we're going to get into the Enneagram in hopefully a few weeks, or if not a few months from now. And because I think it's a very useful tool on the spiritual path for discernment, and discernment of spirits, discernment spiritually, spiritual direction, doing spiritual direction work, and for the ongoing formation and unfolding of a person's life purpose. It's a great tool. So we do right things for the wrong reasons, because our blessing is also our curse, or our curse is our blessing. The very thing we over-identify with is the very thing that brings us down, or that can cause us to self-destruct. There's a double-edged sword, so to speak. Now, being the artist that I am, the creative person that I am, I like certain degree of flair, or not of style, of difference. My number on the Enneagram is type 4. A lot of type 4s are artists, but you don't have, just because you're an artist doesn't mean you're a type 4. And we'll learn more about what being a type 4, or the individualist, as it's sometimes called, or the romantic as well. We'll learn about that more, but not in today's show. So I'm a 4. I fought with myself about whether or not I was a 4 or a 5. And when you learn about the Enneagram, you learn about wing energies that are close to you on this archetypal shape, this archetypal mirror of the soul, 9 faces of the soul, so to speak. So I wrestled with the idea of being a 4 or 5 for years, and it was pointed out to me by a spiritual director and by people who I've allowed myself to be vulnerable to throughout the years, and whose opinions I've respected, have helped me confirm that I am indeed a 4. Okay, what does that mean for today? Well, that means I have a susceptibility to wanting to be special, a susceptibility to wanting to be different, a susceptibility to trying and needing to be different. Why do I need to be different? Because deep down somewhere inside, all 4s feel that they're somehow worthless. And the eternal holy path of the 4 is to find joy in a world of suffering. Find joy amidst pain. Not amidst pain, but despite pain. That's a big difference. I just want to make that clear. So, this need to be different, or to stand out, need to be recognized, is something we all deal with, no matter if you're a 4 or if you're a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 on the Enneagram. And I encourage you to do your own homework in looking up the Enneagram. Like I said, I could do a seminar on it or a webinar on it, but there's so much material out there. And I might do one from a yogic perspective at one point, and that would make it somewhat different. And a form of deliverance yoga at that. But really, the fact is, we all have this somehow self-abasing, self-belittling aspect to ourselves, that we somehow believe that we are inferior. 4s tend to feel inferior, and thereby might adopt, they might have an inferiority complex and adapt by forming some sort of overarching grandiosity. It might be infantile in its form. So, what am I saying? And many of you might think you're a 4 because of some of the things I've said, but you're not because of that, because you're human. And because you're human, you have the tendency to compare, because we have an ego. Egos compare. It's the ego, folks, that compares ourselves to others, that compares our bank books, our checkbooks, our bank accounts, our houses, our cars, our material objects, our material wealth or lack thereof, our jobs, our vocations, our social class. We compare. We want to see where we fit in. And that's okay, but it gets old and it gets destructive. And it becomes neurotic. And I only know because I've lived the neuroses. Recognition is the first step to unfolding, witnessing consciousness or observing consciousness in yourself, to having a neutral stance towards life, adopting what in Kundalini Yoga is called the neutral mind, the meditative mind. Why do people like myself despise the ordinary? Why do we have to go for glamour and for spectacle and for the extraordinary? Because somewhere we feel that life is lacking. Or somehow deep down inside we feel that we are lacking. But we're not. That's a myth. That's the myth of specialness. That's the myth we're talking and trying to demystify. If I had to say a few things about the myth of specialness, it would be that we are all subject to it. No matter who we are on the Enneagram, or what personality tests we decide to take, or how many different self-assessment tools we seek to use. We just simply are what we are. And we tend to compare, as I said before. And we tend to care a lot about what other people think of us. We tend to care about affirmation, praise, recognition. Why do we value, or why do we put so much emphasis on fame? Why is it that we need to be famous? It's because deep down inside we don't feel worthy. We don't feel that we are rooted in our true identities. The Satnam of things, the truth is where truth is my name. Where truth is our identity. You are and you forever will be infinite. That's all that matters. You will and forever will be important in the divine's plan, in the unfolding of the divine drama, the cosmic play of forces. And I don't just mean between good and evil. I mean all things in between as well. So, the Oscar winners, people on that show up in reality television, soap operas, the movies, the blockbuster hit films, people that are in them, that populate them, they are not better than you. There's nothing in them, there's nothing that they have that makes them better than you. And I'm talking just as much to myself as I am to you about this. Something we all need to hear. They are just people, just like you and I. Maybe you are a successful person. Great. Good for you. It's wonderful. You should count your blessings. Maybe you are a famous person. Great again. Count your blessings. Be humble. There's this big cognitive distortion that we all have about not being good enough. And why is that? What makes us feel like we are not good enough? Is it some satanic force? Is it some devil? No. It's the ego. It's that center, that part of ourselves that wants to be the center, rather, of everything. Center of the universe, center of discussion in a room full of people, in the spotlight. Are you comfortable being on the sidelines? I don't mean as a bystander or as simply as somebody who doesn't partake. I mean to involve yourself in life, but be comfortable being on the fringe of things. Be comfortable in your own skin. Be comfortable living in vitality. Be comfortable in living in your excellence. Be comfortable and be thankful for all of these things, for all the good things you have. It takes a lot of strength to leave behind things that you think or thought were yourself. Maybe it's still in my future to continue to act. But the need to act, the need to be an actor, the need to be a center of attention, the need to be on stage, the need to be on a film, the need to be in front of people, the need to be affirmed, the need to receive affirmation, recognition for my efforts, constant approval. Those are all illusions. They will never satisfy the deepest yearnings of the soul. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that because I've lived that, and I've tried to live that, and it still doesn't work. It doesn't work when you transfer all that to the spiritual world either, because it happens in spiritual context too. Spiritual teachers become inflated. I've become inflated at different times. There's a book that I've been working on that I thought that I needed to write, and I thought that I needed to share my spiritual experiences and my mystical experiences, and I thought that I was doing justice to God and I was serving God in the process, where really I was just serving my own spiritual inflated ego. Remember in the episode where I talked about being full of shit? Full of crap? We still have to have that barometer somewhere nearby us and be able to weigh and measure our level of I'm full of shitness, so to speak. And, you know, this is not an explicit program. Slipping that word in there is not going to cause too much of an uproar, I hope. But that gets our attention, doesn't it? I mean, really. We forever want to be loved. That's the eternal quest. We want to know that we're loved. We want to know that we're affirmed. We want to know that we're special. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be special, but be special in the eyes of the divine. Be unique. Be your uniqueness. Live your uniqueness. Live your power in the eyes of the divine. Worry only about what the divine thinks. But even the divine is neutral. The divine does not think any more or less of you depending upon the size of your paycheck, or how many people you know, or how many franchises you own, how many businesses you run, how many constituents you serve in your political domain, how many people you play your music or play your character in front of on stage, how many people in the courtroom witness your brilliant, so to speak, cross-witnessing of or cross-examination of a witness. Be humble. Stay humble. And really keep yourself in check. When you're seeking constant approval, constant affirmation from sources outside of you, then you are indeed feeling insecure. And that's something you've got to wrestle with and come to grips with. That's a path that only you can walk. But you are worthy. You are eternally worthy. The aura and the myth of specialness will get you nowhere. The type of specialness I'm referring to is what we've been talking about. That we've been talking about is pettiness, is superficiality. Don't seek the superficial. Seek the supernatural or the superhumanity. Seek to be superhuman. I don't mean with powers that aren't your own or that you have no right indulging in. I mean being extraordinarily aware, extraordinarily conscious, self-aware, having self-knowledge, knowing about yourself, being aware, being content. If I want to be a good priest or Kundalini yoga teacher, whatever, or a Swami, whatever I decide to define myself as, and I'm all of those, I need to be rooted in that divine consciousness, in the divine presence, in the allness. I need only be affirmed by the allness. And we can strip away at the layers of the ego, peel away the false self like an onion till we get to the core of things, of who we really are, our true self, which is the Atman, or the Christ, or the Buddha nature, or the Krishna consciousness, or the soul. We can do this through meditation, prayer, contemplation, self-observation. Observe yourself. Don't exalt yourself. I've learned the hard way, trying to save you pain and suffering. You forever will be all that you are and have all that you need to be happy right now, whether you're in pain or not. I want to leave you with the accepting reality affirmation. It's about 7 minutes and 50 seconds. take to heart what I've said. Thank you for joining me and being with me again. It's been a pleasure. It's been a great ride so far. We're going to continue to offer this great program here on the Way of Consciousness Radio Network, Turning Points and Transformations, talking about breakthrough moments. Today we've tried to debunk the myth of specialness. You already are special in the eyes of the divine. There's nothing that you need to do. There's nothing that you need to achieve. There's nothing that you need to attain. You already have it. It is your quest in this life to live and know that there's nothing you need to do. There's nothing you need to do to be graced with the love of God.
Just one final thought to leave you with. Please check out my website, bryanrice.org. That's BRYANRICE.org, where you can find information on how to buy and how to get your hands on some music that has encompassed my journey, that has been a reflection of my journey, as well as meditations and affirmations set to music that are uplifting and meant to empower you. Thank you.
Peace to you.
Allowing and accepting the now meditation. I accept the concrete reality of things I cannot change, all that of which is immutable. I accept the moment of now without needing to react with force or resistance of a mental and spiritual nature. I allow reality to be what it is at this moment and release the need to control, judge, manipulate, or obsess over what seems to be an overwhelming motion picture of events and happenings on the screen of the world. In reality, it can have no effect on me because there is a more real reality beyond the veil of Maya. I accept that I live in the world, though I'm not of it, and starting this moment, I ground with the Mother Force Earth energy and solidly plant my feet on the ground. I accept and commit to looking after my survival, the needs that I have, and those I am responsible for. I allow all of the insane egoic dramas played out by many people on this stage of life. I recognize that there are many players and that no one person is more special than any other. No single actor on this stage of life has more importance than another. Rather that all people are equal in the eyes of the divine mind consciousness. I allow others to live their lives as they please, freely, without feeling the need to judge, belittle, or interfere in their affairs. Things and people and situations are what they are, and all I need do is but have the right attitude and outlook that all is perfect, good, loved, and acceptable. Therefore, I will not allow any external events or happenings to be subject to scrutiny of any kind by my egoic ahamkar. I accept the fact that everyone has their own individual karma to work out, and that when filtered through the ego, I have the tendency to compare myself to others. Instead of playing the comparison game, I realize that life is not a race to an imagined finish line. We are all wired differently, to attain, to achieve, to accomplish at different speeds. I allow others to attain their dreams and desires freely and faster than me. For all is as it should be and that I too will attain my goals through patience and perseverance, with the God-appointed power working in me, and at the time past karma is dissolved and transformed so as to allow my intentions to manifest in the manner that I visualize them in. I accept the fact that I am the author of my own destiny, and that my thought culture has the power to influence manifested reality for good or for ill. I respect this power and seek to rightfully use it. I realize then that my thoughts are images I have made, and what I think has the power to materialize. Because my mind is one with the mind of God, no matter how separate it may seem to be, to exist apart from that one mind. Thoughts are building blocks to what I see, so what I think becomes what I see. When I think and feel love, 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 I am in what is the most real reality. It is through thoughts of fear that I miscreate and manifest states of self-made hells, creating the illusion-delusion of life, apart from unitive bliss oneness with divinity. Divinity is all there is. That I know now. But this realization comes only after long trials and tribulations of cultivating the right thought and bright mindfulness in the midst of life's storms. I am the primordial calm nature of consciousness bliss existence. Sat Chit Ananda. This truth maxim is at the nucleus of right manifestation. It informs my every choice. I accept what I cannot change and am inspired to recreate, remanifest what I do have the power to alter for the common good of created consciousness and form. Life will serve me with challenges and hardships, this I know, but how I rise to meet them is a reflection of my godlikeness. So I will do so in the spirit of courage, seeking moderation along the way, regulating and respecting the power of thought to materialize and magnetize. I also accept the fact that not everyone will like me, and there will always be people that don't agree with me. But as this is so I let it be, for these things are beyond my control, and of so little concern to the real true self in me. As long as I am guided by my truth identity, or Satnam, nothing can harm me, nor cause me pain. It is identification with the ego, or falling out of alignment with unitive consciousness, that gives me the perception that pain can be felt. So, I lay the ego aside, allow all things under, in, and out of the heavens to be exactly as they are, withholding all projections of my egoic mind from all that I see. I take back all projections onto the world I see. Instead of projecting, I choose love and truth. And the truth is true, always.
May the divine bless you, uplift you, and keep you. Om. Shanti. Peace. Amen. You have been listening to Turning Points and Transformations with Bryan Rice. We hope you have enjoyed your program today. Together, let us help build the new humanity and seek to become one with the divine presence of all there is.
Pretzel crust fans, rejoice because it's back. By popular demand, Little Caesars large, soft pretzel crust pizza featuring a creamy cheddar cheese sauce, pepperoni, and a 4-cheese blend surrounded by a delicious salted soft pretzel crust for just $6. Hot and ready every day between 4 and 8 and only $6 from the home of pretzel crust pizza, Little Caesars.
Pizza. At participating locations plus tax.
We want pretzel crust! We want
Pretzel crust fans, rejoice because it's back. By popular demand, Little Caesars large, soft pretzel crust pizza featuring a creamy cheddar cheese sauce, pepperoni, and a 4-cheese blend surrounded by a delicious salted soft pretzel crust for just $6. Hot and ready every day between 4 and 8 and only $6 from the home of pretzel crust pizza, Little Caesars.
Pizza. At participating locations plus tax.